John, I've not known you long, but I love you already. But I have to say that it's disingenuous to claim that the biases that are exhibited on Fox News are any different from the biases exhibited on MSNBC. It's difficult to suggest that these corporations operate as anything other than mouthpieces for their affiliate owners in BlackRock and Vanguard. And unless
Russell Brand recently went on Bill Maher and absolutely destroyed all of the woke talking points on that show. He did a great job over on Bill Maher, and I wanted to bring this video to you. And I'm really sorry to Russell about this screenshot right here. I didn't do this on purpose, this freeze frame, but it's a really interesting clip, a really interesting couple of clips where even Elon Musk was forced to respond to it and say, you know, Russell Brand did a great job over on Real Time with Bill Maher, just destroying not just Bill Maher's talking points, but also the other woke guest talking points as well. Let's get into this clip here from Russell Brand talking about when he went on Bill Maher and absolutely destroyed all of his woke talking points.
Now, I went on Bill Maher the other day and I had a conversation about the mainstream media, in particular, the differences between MSNBC and Fox News. My perspective is that all mainstream media outlets are so beholden to corporate and commercial interests that they will not give you the type of information you need to make valid decisions about the way that systemic power operates. That's my position. So I don't think Fox News is the answer. I don't think MSNBC News
If you enjoy content like this, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
is the answer. But the person that I was on the show with, John Hellman, is an MSNBC anchor, and he was obviously advocating for MSNBC. Just to be clear, he's a human being, and I love and respect all human beings. But what I want to say is that I truly believe that MSNBC are also a corporate media outlet, have incredible biases and prejudices that relate to their funding, their political biases, and some important distinctions around liberal establishment media.
Of course, you know, all of the corporate media, they're going out of business, right? Like, why would you, everybody, it's becoming common knowledge nowadays to know that the corporate media is bought out by other people. Like, whenever you learn that even media outlets that are far left and media outlets that are far right, and they both spew propaganda, they both spread propaganda on their shows, they're both owned by the same people a lot of the time. Like, all of the major news networks are basically owned by the same, parent company, which is crazy. And then you go and you see the clips of all of even the local news stations reading the exact same script, spreading the exact same propaganda. It's just fear mongering and all this other nonsense. And then obviously, the solution to that has been independent media, where now people can go and they can just fact check everything that everyone is saying. And if they like you, they'll continue to watch you, which will in turn give you more money and allow you to do it for a living. Or if you're spewing nonsense and propaganda, then for the most part, you're probably not going to get very many viewers unless you're super entertaining or something. And then you're not going to be able to do it for a living, which it is going to put the bad information to bed. So the solution to this whole corporate media issue and them spreading all this propaganda and getting paid to do it is channels like Russell Brand. People who are actually willing to go and seek the truth. Russell Brand being a great example, as he used to be a very, very hardcore liberal, as well as people like Joe Rogan. And, through going on Bill Maher and talking with a lot of woke people, debating a lot of woke people and listening to the other side, he's willing to break free from that. So the solution to the whole thing is independent journalists, independent media, independent YouTube channels and Rumble channels and stuff like that. That has been the solution. And I think it's been a great one. Obviously, there's still channels out there like Hassan who just spread misinformation constantly, and somehow they have a cult-like fan base. And it's crazy to me, but that's very few and far between. Most of the time, the channels that rise to the top are the ones that actually give you facts and in a more even-keeled way.
That I think are worth analysing. So let's have a little look at the appearance on Bill Maher, and then we'll talk about why I think MSNBC, if they're better than Fox News at all, aren't better enough. John, I've not known you long, but I love you already. But I have to say that it's disingenuous to claim that the biases that are exhibited on Fox News are any different from the biases exhibited on MSNBC. It's difficult to suggest that these corporations operate as anything other than mouthpieces for their affiliate owners in BlackRock and Vanguard. And unless I'd call that a light smattering of applause at the mention of
I mean, I think it's a pretty decent applause, to be honest, for going on Bill Maher, who obviously, and this clip isn't like brand new. This is an older clip that Russell Brand is talking about here. And Bill Maher was a lot more woke around when this clip came out. Like, more nowadays, he's moving more towards the light side, the red pill side. But to get an applause from his audience, calling out MSNBC for being owned, operated, basically being a mouthpiece for BlackRock, Vanguard, etc., then I mean, to get any sort of applause, that just shows you that the population, the general population, even the woke side, are starting to wake up to the corporate media's nonsense. Not only to melting down about what Fox News has to say, which I think a lot of times Fox News, especially after Tucker Carlson is gone, is nonsense, but also MSNBC, CNN, they're also a bunch of nonsense as well.
The name BlackRock and Vanguard, and indeed, two of the biggest investors in MSNBC are BlackRock and Vanguard. We'll unpack that a little more in a minute. I've been on that MSNBC, mate. It was propagandist nutcrackery on there. I went on a show called Morning Joe. It was absurd the way they carried on.
Good Morning Joe.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It wasn't morning. There was no one called Joe there. No one could concentrate. They didn't understand the basic tenets of journalism. No one.
This is one of Russell Brand. This is one of my favorite appearances of Russell Brand at all. Just absolutely hilarious, but at the same time, just tearing down all of this nonsense, all of this woke nonsense, in one like fiery speech. You gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. When he says it's a bunch of propagandist nutcrackery, the first time I saw that, I thought that was the funniest thing ever, man. And even Bill Maher is forced to laugh. And you know that at the time that this clip came out, Bill Maher was 100% on MSNBC side. Like, he had to be, at least like in his brain. He might not be able to come out and straight up say it because obviously his audience is being won over by Russell Brand here. But you know that he wants to defend the MSNBC guy, but he can't. There's no defense.
Was willing to stick up for genuine American heroes like Edward Snowden. No one was willing to talk about Julian Assange and what he's suffered trying to bring real journalism to the American people. Actually, the motivation of this video isn't aren't I good? The motivation is there's a lot of things that I wish I'd been able to say that I didn't say because I was on the television and I couldn't concentrate properly. Here are some facts about MSNBC that are, in my view, truly startling and at very least cause for a genuine analysis about the role of the media in our culture. And when we look at the pandemic, and I don't want to dwell there because I think it's revealed enough to us, the stuff they said about unvaccinated people, the stuff they said about mask mandates, the stuff they said about vaccinations, all of it subsequently looks like it was worthy of a lot more conversation, and it's difficult to imagine that MSNBC's financial relationship with, for example, Pfizer, did not influence their reporting on, for example, vaccines. Maybe I'm being incredibly cynical. Let me know in the chat, let me know in the comments if you think that MSNBC's relationship with Pfizer affects the way they talk about Pfizer. Or maybe that financial relationship with Pfizer doesn't affect the way that they talk about.
I think it should be illegal. And obviously, like, that's wishful thinking, right? I don't think that a corporation who tries to act like, tries to advertise themselves as if they're just unbiased news. Like, if you ask any MSNBC exec, they're going to say, oh yeah, we're unbiased news. We just try to bring you the facts. And we all know that that's not true. But a lot of like older people and people maybe who aren't fully there mentally or whatever, maybe even just naive people in general, if you have if an investor of yours is someone who is supplying a medical product, it should be illegal to promote that medical product. And I know that might sound crazy, but especially when something that they are releasing is an experimental drug, even though they don't want to admit it, it obviously was an experimental drug. And we kind of found out later that everyone who said that it is right. Especially when it's something like that, you shouldn't be allowed to promote that thing because that can get very, very dangerous. If there are any sort of side effects that could be possible and an investor of yours is releasing a certain drug or whatever, any kind of medical device or something that you ingest, whatever it is, if there could possibly be, some side effects, of course they're not going to say unless they're legally obligated to do it. And if they are, maybe there is a law in place already, it's obviously not being upheld. It's obviously it's not being properly enforced. And it needs to be. Like, there needs to be some sort of law against not taking investors from, pharmaceutical companies or anything like that. You can take those investors on, but you should have to overemphasize the side effects and the downsides to using that drug or device or whatever it is, instead of try to hide it and promote people to get it. That's dangerous. That's very, very dangerous, and it should be illegal.
About Pfizer. So I'm essentially saying that the vanity of small differences has become this celebrated battlefield where everyone's willing to shout and scream, oh, we would never do that on MSNBC. But look at what you do on MSNBC. I believe that we deserve an open media. That's why I'm working in these spaces in order to participate in open conversations, because guess what? I might be wrong about stuff. You know things I don't know. I don't want a media that talks down to me, and I know you don't either. I don't want a media that's owned and co-opted by financial interests to such a degree that it's never going to tell you the truth, because it simply can't. Okay, so the story that John
And that's why Russell Brand ended up coming to our side of things. Anybody who has that mindset of, I might be wrong. I say that all the time in every single video, and in this one included. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments, because I want to be educated. I don't want to be ignorant on subjects. I think I'm pretty well educated on these things, but I know I don't know everything, and I know for a fact I'm wrong about a ton of things. And if you think like that, if you have that mindset where you're not just so arrogant as to think that you know everything because you watch Hassan, watch some TikTok threads, and then you think you just know everything about the Middle East war, it's like, then you're probably going to be on the woke side of things if you have that mindset. If you're humble enough to be able to admit, I don't know everything, I'm willing to, I'm open to new information, you're probably going to end up on, just being honest, you're probably going to end up on the right, at least nowadays. And that could flip, in a few years or whatever. It could end up being the left later on. But as of right now, the right wing is the home of actual sane people. Like that's just what it is. So people like Russell Brand, people like Joe Rogan, people who are actually humble enough to say, you know what, I don't know everything. Let's go find out the facts of all of these things. They end up on the right. They end up right wing, because that's just like the safe haven of sane people right now. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you're thinking about Russell Brand's appearance over on Bill Maher. Obviously, I thought it was great. Like it was awesome. And then he goes on to, in this video, just goes on to absolutely shred MSNBC, Fox News, all the corporate media out there, as well as, going on Bill Maher and just destroying him and his guests that he had over there. As bad as Bill Maher wanted to defend that MSNBC host, he had no defense for him. So let me know what you're thinking about this Russell Brand and Bill Maher situation.